Hey there, good morning, and welcome back to Just the News AM. I am Carrie Sheffield, and glad that you're with us. Joined again by Congressman Jerry Carl. Also joined by Bryan Rotella. He's the founding and managing partner of Genco Legal and a healthcare expert. Good morning, Bryan.
Good morning.
So let's talk about Obamacare and the enrollment window that Biden has opened back up again. So reporting about this, the new Obamacare enrollment window is opening as Congress is battling for more COVID aid. The enrollment period during the coronavirus pandemic is an early test of President Joe Biden's strategy to use the Affordable Care Act as a springboard toward health coverage for all, according to the Associated Press. And advancing on a parallel track, the new COVID-19 relief bill from House Democrats would offer a generous, though temporary, increase in subsidies for people covered by the law known as Obamacare. The word temporary, I'm reminded of what Ronald Reagan said about the closest thing to eternal life is a government program. Do you think these would actually be temporary? If they're in this bill, would they ever be rolled back?
I think you can answer that question for me, Carrie. No, it's not temporary. But I'm going to quote someone else, Mark Twain, and it was in the movie, you know me, pop culture. I love movies, The Big Short. It's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you think for sure is going to happen, and it just ain't so, that gets you in trouble. And now, guess what we're doing here, or the Biden administration's doing with this open enrollment for 90 days, February 15th until May 15th. They are quadrupling down on what didn't work during the last term of the Obama administration. What's happening now is during the pandemic, how many people who are not well, who have not been going to the doctor, you know, I'm a healthcare attorney, I can tell you from my clients, there is a real epidemic in this country of people not getting preventive care for important stuff, cancers, screenings, and all these other types of things. Obamacare took away pre-existing condition rating. There's no way to look at these people's healthcare history. So the analogy I made back to The Big Short a little bit ago, you are basically saying, all right, folks, come on in, get on health insurance, heavily subsidized. We have no idea how healthy you are or not. These also may be people that have COVID, that have some of the long hauler conditions that we're seeing. Eventually, those premiums are going to explode. That's exactly what happened in 2015, 16? And the markets, the insurance carriers started pulling out of the markets. Remember, in some places, counties, we'd have one insurance carrier. It's going to happen again, but what you said in the Associated Press that I completely agree with, but I'm not going to say springboard. It's a Trojan horse for Joe Biden's public option, and to say, hey, here's the great thing, too big to fail. Let's bail out the whole thing with universal health care.
Bryan, I feel like you're a voice in the wilderness. You're the oracle, the prophet. No one's listening to you, Bryan. The Congressman's got a question for you.
Bryan, I've got a background in healthcare, and I think you answered my question when you called it a Trojan horse, but I think Obamacare was the Trojan horse also. It got the federal government into 100% healthcare. This is going to take us into a new step, and the new step is going to be coverage for everyone at any price. And the insurance companies have to make profits. They have to show profits to stay in business. But when you start increasing that base and you get sicker folks in, you got to expect premiums to go up. And this term affordable, I'm just curious who came up with the term affordable health care, because it has just exploded. And with this and expanding that window of opportunity for people to get in it, it's going to make it much, much worse. Much, much worse, especially considering the conditions we're in right now with the COVID.
Congressman, thank you. And with your history, you know this well. I couldn't agree anymore. But what people don't understand about insurance, and again, I know I'm a lawyer, I deal with insurance all the time. Insurance is supposed to predict what's going to happen in the future. It's not supposed to cover what we know has already happened. Would you give insurance or buy an insurance policy if you knew you had smoke coming out of the back of your house for fire insurance? No. So this pre-existing condition argument that's been going on since 2010 sounds really good to the American people. No, I don't want to be rated. Folks, Carrie, you know this, I'm public, I have Crohn's disease, I take medications. No one wants to be rated for pre-existing conditions. But getting coverage that's like, going back to the mortgage analogy, that you're really getting a subprime loan that's got a balloon payment on it at some point, that doesn't help folks with pre-existing conditions. What you're getting at, which the prior administration was doing a really good job, I thought, was getting to the core of the issue, costs. like with favored nations, where you could get drugs cheaper in other nations and get those drugs set at the price of, let's say, what they're set in Canada or set over in Europe. Looking at things like buying insurance across state lines, short-term policies. These were all targeted to drive costs down. Guess who hated that? Big pharma, big health systems. And ultimately, guess what they really like? They like universal coverage. That's a whole bunch of consumers.
All right,
sure.
Bryan, just while we got you real fast, I want to get your take. You're down there in Florida. You got a pulse on what's happening, especially in Trump world. There's a poll by Politico and Morning Consult, and they were looking at GOP voters to see how do they view McConnell compared to Trump. And Trump overwhelmingly is way more favorable among the GOP voters compared to McConnell. It's 34% favorable for McConnell, but 53% unfavorable compared to Trump, 81% favorable, and only 18% unfavorable among Republicans. Where do you weigh in on this?
I'd love to see the poll carry with Governor DeSantis and Senator McConnell living here in Florida. We are a big fan of our governor, and I'm sitting in my office today. We are working at Genco, and we're doing it safely, and the governor's done a great job. So I would love to see that poll because I think the governor has got a really bright future. I'm going to go flip back to healthcare again on Senator McConnell and say one thing. 2017, I know the late John McCain took a lot of heat for what happened with that health care bill that didn't go through. But who was the Senate Majority Leader? It was Mitch McConnell. It didn't happen. The president couldn't run on it in 2020.
All right. Hey, we're going to keep an eye on maybe 2024. We'll see DeSantis running. All right, we'll be right back with more with the congressman. Stay tuned.